Good evening. It is 6 o'clock, and I would like to call the study session to order and have a roll call.
Alderperson Robinson,
Present.
Hertz,
Here.
Maynard,
Present.
Swanson,
Here.
Parker,
Here.
Poulos,
Here.
Healy,
Here.
and Mayor Tomes.
Here. Public comment. I imagine nobody's signed up. I don't know if the sign up's on the podium or did we put a sign up?
Yes, we did.
Nobody there, I would assume. Nope. We will then move on to the presentation. Tom, are you starting this or? Okay.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council. I have the pleasure tonight to introduce Liz Tallman, who is the Vice President of Economic Development at Dari.
Tom, turn the mic on. There you go.
I'm trying.
You guys get to hear me again. Good afternoon, Council, Mayor. My name is Tom Flaherty. I'm the Economic Development Director. I have the pleasure tonight of introducing Liz Tallman. Liz Tallman is the Vice President of Economic Development with Dari. Dari is our premier economic development partner. Earlier this year, you approved the service agreement between the City of Rock Island and Dari. Tonight, Liz is going to give a presentation on the proposed work plan that would go along with that agreement. So, without further ado, Liz Tallman.
Thank you, Tom. Thank you, Mayor, members of the City Council. It's always wonderful to come back and see you folks. This is kind of exciting. This facility right here is where I started my career in the Quad Cities region many years ago, right down the hallway at Bi-State Regional Commission. So this has changed quite a bit. So, but thank you. Tonight, what we're going to talk about is as Tom mentioned, the new service agreement. We're going to talk a little bit about the work plan as far as what we're proposing to do in the next 3 years with the service agreement. But I do want to mention a couple of things in front of you is our 2023 annual report, and it talks a lot about the economic development activities between Dari and the city economic development staff. So, I got to turn this on.
Liz, sorry to interrupt. Is this annual report on your website, or is it available online anywhere? I'd love to link this on my social media.
Sure. I'll check.
All right.
I'll check. I know it is on Facebook, but I'll double check.
Okay, I'll find it on Facebook.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. I think I figured this out. Okay, so before we start talking about the new service agreement work plan, I just wanted to mention some highlights from the first version. So the first service agreement, as you may recall, was adopted in March 2020, and it was an economic development partnership between the city and the Development Association of Rock Island. And that agreement went through 2023. And in front of you is really just kind of, I wanted to mention several of the highlights of the things that we did during that first version. And I do want to mention that we are coming back, the economic development team, city staff, and Dari. We're coming back in June to talk specifically about the ARPA financial assistance that you folks adopted, for example, in May of last year. And the program will have its 1-year anniversary in June. So we're going to come back and talk a little bit more specifically about economic development projects. But what I wanted to do with the highlights is if you look at under business resources, that was one of our key component areas of our service agreement previously. We did create one location for business resources. You may recall under what we called it Forward, the platform. We had over 1,000 businesses listed in that database, and we had at the time 98 different financial resources, and mainly what the whole idea was to provide financial assistance information specifically for businesses in Rock Island, but also several of the things that were going on as it related to post-COVID financial assistance. We also, as a part of our agreement, put together a How to Start a Business in Rock Island guide, and that is still on our websites and provides help on how to start a business here in Rock Island. Under economic development, we had over 2,500 business engagements. We managed over 284 economic development projects. We had 42 new businesses to Rock Island, and we facilitated support to Rock Island businesses that resulted in almost $30 million of resources to businesses here in Rock Island. And I do want to mention that's, I think on that slide, it doesn't include local, but it's local, regional, and state resources. And so we did a really good job of identifying resources for businesses and specifically for Rock Island. For example, I just want to mention Bridge Investment is a community development corporation,
County board.
and DARI is the only local economic development organization that actually sits on that board. So we've been able to access quite a few funds through that program. For example, last year we were able to do, I think, $1 million for Rock Island businesses. Over time, there has been, I think it's about, I think it was about 18 million and 39 loans in Rock Island, but that's over several years. But I just wanted to mention that because there have been a lot of opportunities for us to go after and identify resources for businesses. But as a result of a lot of the work that has been done with the economic development team, there is currently about $205 million in business investment going on in or underway in Rock Island. We also assisted in helping develop the policies for the ARPA program. Again, we're going to talk about that more so in June. And we helped implement some marketing campaigns, specifically Why Rock Island. We also helped with the resilience videos. Some of you may recall right after COVID, we did some videos on how to help some of our businesses get through those difficult times. And we also had some good social media campaigns on businesses. And we organized, for example, a holiday pop-up shopping at Christmas time in 2022. One of the other key areas that we work in is site inventory. And there's a list there that we've, some of the things that we were able to accomplish with site inventory. And what that means is helping promote sites and buildings that are available for business expansion and attraction. I'm going to talk a little bit more about that in terms of our focus area for our new work plan. And then workforce housing, we did create a residential housing services guide that the city council at the time asked us to put together. That sits on our websites. We also, a big part of what we do is promoting Live Work Rock Island. And again, that's since we had a 20-year anniversary last December, and we've been able to help, I think, over 422 new business or new home buyers to Rock Island. That's about 2.45 million in down payment assistance, with resulting in about 45 million generated in real estate transactions. And why is that important? Well, obviously it's only available to DARI members. We have over 50 members, but it's their employees, so it's helping them with workforce talent attraction, but then also at the same time, we're helping create new inventory in Rock Island for housing. And what does that do? We know it helps put properties back on the payroll tax and the payroll, or the property tax rolls, for example. Okay, so I want to talk a little bit about now the service agreement itself. It was adopted by the City Council in December 2023. And as a part of that, we were to put together a work plan. And the service agreement itself outlined some specific scope of services, and that's what I'm going to talk about tonight. And again, this is all about an economic development team. This is why you folks put together your investment into this service agreement. And really, it's an economic development team that consists of DARI staff and the city staff. And we have, we've been working with Tara since March 2020, and now we have Mr. Flaherty on our team, and it's been very, very helpful and wonderful to have him involved. He brings a lot of really good new skill sets to our team, and but we're no longer an all-women economic development team. But so the first item is, a lot of these are similar to what we did in the first round, but it's really more of an enhancement in some of those areas. We want to serve as the initial point of contact and sharing information. regarding business assistance programs available in Rock Island. Again, we have a new platform. It's called Civic Serve, and we've been able to put together with the city information on financial assistance, even all the way up to applying for applications and requests for assistance. So that's been a big part of what we've been working on and what we'll continue to do. Again, this is also a good communication tool because we're able to get out to businesses. We have over 1,000 businesses listed in here. It helps us to get information out about different programs and services available. The other piece with that is developing a business directory. This was a big priority for the city council in our last agreement. We were able to put together information in Forward, but what this is doing now with Civic Serve is we're actually hoping to have the development of a directory that can be a searchable database. For example, anybody can go on the website, hopefully, and look for whatever types of services or businesses are available in Rock Island. And that's one of our goals for this next version. The other thing that's really important is the data analysis that we hope to be able to accomplish through this Civic Serve system. And then again, this is a priority area, and that is our what we call our inventory, and to identify preferred sites, improve site readiness, and promote availability of those sites in Rock Island. And what that does is working not only with just the real estate community, but developers, understanding what site consultants are looking for, and our economic development partners to identify key sites for industrial and commercial development. As we know, we lack that here in Rock Island, and what we're trying to do is identify whether they're new sites or if we can do some redevelopment in current industrial areas. And so this is going to be a big part of our program, particularly this next year. And it's really looking at the sites, what do we have, what do we need, and then also the information regarding those particular sites. We've done some studies in a couple of the corridors, but bottom line is being able to promote those and know what we have and all the information related to that. So, time is money. If a business is looking at wanting to locate here, we have a site, they can, it's turnkey, and they can move forward quickly. So this is a big part of what we want to do in this next work plan. The other area, which is this is economic development right here. This is the key of what we have to be working on every day, and that is helping our existing businesses expand, looking at business attraction. How do we bring new businesses here? And then business creation is not necessarily being the ones who are creating the businesses, but having the resources to help somebody that has an idea to go from idea to commercialization. And so this is what I call our core work program right here. And so what we hope to do in this next version is under business retention and expansion. Excuse me. The big part here is collaborating with city staff and economic development partners to really have a robust business retention and expansion outreach program. And Mr. Flaherty brings a great history of this. He was our guy in his previous life, and going out and understanding, having those relationships with businesses, but also understanding what it is that they need and how can we help them get those things that they need. And so our priority right now is to put together a real good business call program. And this will also help us prioritize what it is in general terms do businesses need here in Rock Island. But an addition is that we are going to have an outreach, a neighborhood business cluster meetings as well. So for example, we can determine opportunities in key business corridors such as the 11th Street, Southwest Industrial, the West End Revitalization Initiative, 11th Street Corridor, Sunset Business Park. So we can work also then in identifying through the clusters what it is that they might need. The next area is business attraction. And basically what this is, how do we attract new investment to come to Rock Island? And this is a tough one. It takes a big team to do the business attraction component. what we're going to be working on now is identifying what exactly is it that we should be doing in terms of business attraction. You have other partners who do different pieces of business attraction. For example, the chamber, they work on targeted industry business attraction, marketing the Quad Cities to the world, but in those specific areas. So what we want to know is, how do we create, or what is it that we need to create in terms of retail, service, some of those other non-targeted areas? How do we attract that new investment? So, that's the big one, and in trying to collectively figure out how do we go about um, attracting that new investment. But also a big part of that is the resource packaging and understanding what it is we have to offer businesses that are not currently here in the region. And then business creation, as I mentioned, we're not necessarily going to be the experts on how to start a business, but we're going to be the ones who know the resources that help them to do that. And a lot of times we're looking at business planning, for example. We'll collaborate with the Small Business Development Center. We'll help them find resources to get a storefront, how to commercialize that business. So a lot of that has to do with partnering with other entities as well, and making sure we have the right information to help those entrepreneurs here in Rock Island. And as we know, Rock Island is, the history of Rock Island with business development is entrepreneurship, and that's how we see ourselves helping extend that as we move forward in economic development. And then in terms of project management, we always talk about this, we always report on it. What's really, really important, though, is that we have a good system of understanding these project management systems. So we're looking at how do we make sure we're collaborating with all of our partners, and also the identification that we don't want to be so critical of we can only do it this way. We do need to look at how do we help attract other investment and help our businesses expand. Excuse me. Excuse me, I'm getting over a dreadful cold, so I apologize. So the other area is facilitate business assistance programs. And again, this is probably where we have spent the majority of our first 3 years, and that was helping to identify resources to help businesses. And especially after post-COVID, there was the CARES Act money. I think Rock Island was the first community to get that money out in all of the Quad Cities. First thing we did was we did a survey to find out what it is you needed from the business perspective, and you got those funds out the door. And then the next one was looking at the state and federal funding to help some of the businesses with the CARES Act and post-COVID funding, and then the ARPA money, as we've mentioned. That, you folks probably did the best job, I think, in the Quad Cities of identifying thoughtful process of what do you want to do with those ARPA funds as it relates to businesses. And so we created these programs, the Property Enhancement Program, the Growing Rock Island Together, and the High Impact Program. And those three have been very successful in, we'll talk about this in June, but a very thoughtful process of getting money out to those businesses quickly. And then also we have been looking at long-term sustainability, like with the GRIT program and the HIP program, and that is they revolve back in to Rock Island. So we're going to have money to help businesses in the future because of the revolving nature of that. So good program. Again, we'll talk more about it in June, but this has been really packaging financial assistance and incentives, and looking at the things that we need to do to help businesses. I'm hoping that we'll look again at like what are some other opportunities out there, and maybe make some recommendations to council on what other incentive programs should we be looking at to offer our businesses and also attract new investment. But I'm hoping that we've got a really good structure put together. We're not going to have to spend as much time and effort on this as we did in the first 3 years. This piece here, so coordinating with our other partners to increase awareness and promotion of Rock Island assets. So I think we talked about in the last version of putting together a marketing plan for Rock Island, and at the time, it I mean, I've really thought about this. It shouldn't be a Dari function. It shouldn't be a city function. It should be a partnership in with everybody who is involved in marketing Rock Island, whether it's the school district, whether it's Quad City or Visit Quad Cities, whether it's the chamber, whether it's downtown. I think what we need to do is pull everybody together and really look at a partnership on how do we communicate what it is we want to be communicating to the world, but also understanding even just some of the basic celebrations of talking about the businesses, talking about the stories, talking about their expansion. So one of the things we're going to be doing is getting together with those groups and putting together a marketing and communication plan based on what's best for Rock Island, and then also developing the marketing piece related to that. You know, it's whether they're collateral materials, community fact sheets, those kinds of things. And then this last thing, excuse me, I think a big part of what Tom's been assigned to do, I don't know where Tom went. Oh, there you are. He's the guy, no. So he's putting together, you know, having us do a little more strategic discussion on what is it that we want to do in economic development. And it's not just us staff telling, you know, everybody what we need to do. It's really looking at the, you know, the city council, looking at organizationally are all of our different partners, what are our roles and responsibilities, and putting together a good package of what is our strategy, what is it that we want to do. And so Tom's going to be leading us in that, and we're hoping that we can come back to you folks and say this is what we think is the best way to work collectively and collaboratively in economic development, and have a pretty good strategic vision. So what are our next steps? So this is a part of our service agreement is to come back to you folks and talk about our work plan that we're proposing for the next 3 years. I do want to say it's kind of vanilla. I mean, it's pretty basic. It's in terms of economic development. You're not going to see, you know, a lot of wow, pow in this part of it. But what our next step is really to come up with this organizational plan, but also we're going to develop action plans related to specific components of this. And that's where we get into the discussion of retail. Are we going to be doing a retail attraction strategy, for example? Are we going to be working on, are we going to go after assembling a site, you know, for industrial, those kinds of things? But that's the next steps. It gets down to the more action planning and coming up with what it is we're going to be actually delivering in terms of our service agreement. So, and I apologize, I keep, excuse me. And with that, are there any questions that we can answer, either me or members of the team here?
Quiet group so far. No, think it's been good relationship so far.
All right,
okay.
thank
That's
you.
it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. All right. Need a motion to adjourn. Did I hear so moved?
So moved.
There we go. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion on it? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Next meeting, 6:45.